Everybody,
Yep.
call the meeting of the Select Board to order at 7:04. If you'll please rise and join me in the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. As you'll note on the agenda, our first item with the Anchor of Hull has been postponed to our next Select Board meeting. So the next item is the referral of zoning bylaw amendments to the Planning Board for annual town meeting. Just want to say this is a pro forma thing where we just approve sending these forward to the Planning Board. The Planning Board will then hold public hearings. So our task today is really just to approve these going forward to the Planning Board, not to approve or disapprove these amendments. If our Director of Town Planning and, what's the official name?
Chris Diorio?
No, not you. That I remember.
Development and Planning Director.
Okay, our Community Development and Planning Director, Chris Diorio, the last name I knew and the first, will just run us through these different amendments, and then I'll ask Town Manager also. Please.
So as you just mentioned, this is the start of the review process of our of the zoning amendments that the Planning Board has been working on in the course of the last many months. It's really process is identified in statute by the state, and lays out certain dates and deadlines we have to meet. And the first thing is that we refer our language to the Select Board. They, as Roman mentioned, refer it back to the Planning Board, and it's pretty much an administrative process, but it really kind of starts off the clock for us, holding public hearings and moving the language forward to town meeting and the warrant. So we have 4 potential rezonings this year. I'll just quickly kind of go through them, but I'll do it in the order you have here on the agenda. So the first one is it's about a section regarding non-conforming uses for in the single-family districts and the multifamily districts. Right now, there's a section in the zoning that allows any homes that are within the setback, so you're required to have a 10-foot setback in residential districts. If you're within 5 feet from the residential line, from your property line, as a non-conforming setback, and greater than 15 feet from your abutting property, you're allowed to build in that footprint up to 35 feet. And so there's members of the Planning Board that want to eliminate that by right aspect of it and turning it into more of a special permit aspect, with the thought that you're creating houses that are too high and too close together. And so that's the first proposal right now, is eliminating that.
Chris, who are these suggestions coming from?
Both the Zoning Bylaw Review Committee and Planning Board members. The vote on that one was 5-2 to send it forward.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of people that took advantage of that 5-15 rule because, a lot of houses in Hull are so close together, and so I'm sure that's one that'll come up for discussion and probably have some back and forth.
Yeah, sure. So that's been proposed, and as we have the public hearings, we'll get more feedback from the public and see where we are with that. But, so that's the first one. The second one was the flexible plan development. If you remember last year, there was a citizen petition to eliminate flexible plan development, and we recommended the town meeting send that back to the Planning Board to review that process over the next year and make a recommendation on that zone. So instead of eliminating it, the board has spent the past many months looking at the language and making modifications to it. and have provided language that they unanimously are wanting to move forward with. The flexible plan development really, it only affects properties within the commercial rec A and C districts that are greater than 10 acres. So it's a really limited, the zone is going to be really limited to only being used on only a few locations in town, if that. But they did want to, make some changes to it. You could potentially do it in the HRA site, and I think also the construction yard down at the corner of Cohasset is another potential site for that, but probably those would be the only two. So the changes they want to make, I'll just briefly kind of touch on them. They wanted to basically clean up the uses that are allowed. Some of the language is kind of old, luncheonettes and things like that. They wanted to kind of clean that up. The process for approval, they had its own process that took little bits from the special permit, took little bits from the site plan review, and so they just wanted to combine that and say, you need a special permit, you need a site plan review, is identified in other areas of the zoning. So just to kind of clean that up. Right now, there's the planning board handles some aspects of it. The zoning board of appeals handles other aspects of it. So they want to make it just so it's the planning board would be the special permit granting authority. Proposing some changes to the guidelines, some of the findings that I believe would make a better project. Providing for view corridors, more descriptive safety requirements for vehicle circulation, pedestrian circulation, those kind of things, design standards. They want to reduce the height. Right now, the maximum height is 70 feet. I think this zone was written many years ago, and I think it was probably a little more acceptable for buildings to go up that high. They want to maximize the height at 40 feet. They also want to require, there was no real discussion of requiring public open space. There was requirements for open space, but now there's going to be a requirement for public open space. I figure, if it's a 10-acre parcel, you're looking at it comprehensively, there should be, obviously space for the public to come in and use, some recreational amenities, whatever's proposed for that site. And then just a couple more. They want to put a maximum footprint of 1,600 square feet on all buildings. So originally this zone, I think the way it was written, the idea was higher buildings, higher and narrower buildings. So more open space, but you could get that same square footage in higher buildings. So when they're reducing from 70 to 40, that's going to push buildings out, make them wider. So there was concern that we're going to, we're just going to have larger buildings on the site. And so they want to have some kind of limitation on that. So that's why they came up with the 1,600 square foot, but they do have language in here which they will be able to modify that if they feel like it's a beneficial benefit to the project. So that's in here, and then and that's pretty much it with that one. They also want one more thing. They want to have language in here that if you're looking at a comprehensive project, like a 10-acre project, a lot of times it might be phased. So they want to make sure that regarding the inclusionary housing requirement, that it's looked at as one big project. So make sure we get the affordable units that we all want to see in those. So that's flexible plan development.
So just a question on that. I think the obvious question is, we voted as a town to promote the MBTA, and that site
Yep.
that you were discussing is set aside for that. Does this conflict with that? Are there any?
No, that's because that was the base zone, so that had to be by right use. This is an overlay district. You can use this if you have 10 acres and you're within that district, and it provides some benefits to density and things like that in here that you wouldn't get with the base zone. So it can happen in the same area, but they don't conflict with each other.
Well, it sounded like there were a lot of restrictions on height and, right, and a certain amount of open space, and it sounds like if that site ever was potentially developed with that, you know, I'm not in favor of that, but if it was, it would seem like a lot of these restrictions would conflict with what would be put in there.
Well, this, if a developer came in, they would want to use this. They don't have to use this.
Okay.
They can come in and build under the underlying base district, which complies with MBTA communities. If they wanted to get some of the benefits that come along with this zone, they would have to meet those restrictions. But they also, on the flip side, get some more units on the site.
Okay.
All right, the next one. Well, the next one was just they wanted to add the museum use or in-museum use to commercial rec A and B districts. That was the only change on that. I'm sorry, the commercial rec B and the commercial rec C districts, just those two. That was the only change on that one. And then the fourth was a few changes to the Nantasket Beach Overlay District. There's 3 changes to this. One was they wanted to modify the definition of open space. Right now, you're allowed to count terraces and plazas as open space, and they wanted to make sure that if that was going to count towards open space, that use would be open to the public. That was the main change with that. The other change was about trying to address, it was kind of a result of the Paragon project. Currently in the zoning, you're required to have breaks in a project if it's for every 80 feet, whether or not it's a setback or an opening. But that requirement was only in place for front of the building if it was on a street, right? But as we found with the Dunes project, sometimes you have multiple fronts. So they wanted to make sure that in the future, all sides would be having to fall under that section where you have to have more breaks in the building. And we reduced it from 80 feet to 60 feet, so we have more breaks. There'd be shorter wall fronts to the building. So that was the second change. And then I think the third change was they wanted to put some requirements in about shadows and how they affect kind of open space areas, especially public open space, sidewalk area where people are going to be seated. You don't want them to be sitting in shadows, all day long, in the course of on a nice summer day. So there was some language in here about having some oversight over that. And that is it for that one. So those are basically the 4 zonings that are going to be sent up, and hopefully refer back to the planning board. We'll hold up public hearings. We're shooting for March 11th.
So just again, for the folks that came in before Chris started to review this, this is a pro forma presentation. There will be, our vote now is whether or not we move this on to the planning board, to move it on to the planning board, and the planning board will hold public hearings on it where folks will have the opportunity for input. We're not taking any action on these as individual today, other than to move them forward to the planning board.
I just wanted to say thank you for the presentation. I just wanted to thank the community planning department. I've been meeting as the rep for the zoning bylaw committee, and the planning board has met a lot. The zoning bylaw committee has met a lot, and so just thankful to everybody from Town Hall, but then also everybody who's been volunteering their time to really take the study request from last town meeting very seriously. And this just represents, I think, a portion of, drafting and sections that we started with. And after a review by, at least a dozen people, and the review continues, we just met with the zoning bylaw committee today to look at some of the changes that the planning board made with the flexible plan development and before they have their hearing. So I know this isn't necessarily all final, but just a thank you to everybody who's been putting in their time to do this, because hand editing a zoning bylaw is a special, just a special thing.
Special talent.
Special talent, yeah. So thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
I just one question. Chris, I know you mentioned March. How many meetings do you plan to have for the public?
Right now, it's one. Well, we schedule all 4 public hearings for the same night on the 11th.
Yeah, just because it's very important that we educate before we hit town meeting. Maybe there's a way to do that. Social media, the newspaper, whatever we can do to benefit them.
Okay. Well, it's being noticed and, goes through that whole process of public hearings.
Yep.
So,
Great.
agree with you.
I'll entertain a motion to move this forward to the planning board.
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay. Moved by Taverna, seconded by Gray. Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, just a little to Greg's point, too, I think just a little information for the public, because I know it's been a topic of discussion, the planning board and zoning articles. As you indicated and Chris indicated earlier, it's statutory that the select board refer back zoning amendments or bylaws to the planning board before they can hold a public hearing, and the public hearing requirements are statutory. And then just also on the warrant front, town staff do have deadlines because the warrant closes on March 25th, I believe. And the town staff need time to prepare the warrant, to get it to the printer, to finalize. It gets read and proofread, put together over a series of weeks. The zoning articles are particularly one of our longer articles. They include maps and a little more complicated. And so we do need to buffer in that time and set schedules. But I do thank Chris and the planning board for accommodating those schedules and information to the public.
Thank you. Okay, motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Very helpful.
Oh, and I'll try to talk louder. I actually don't have the microphone today.
Thanks.
Oh.
See you guys.
Oh, you were
Is
slighted.
there a reason?
Chris.
There's one over there,
think
but
I
it's
hear
for
it,
the
yeah.
audience.
Yeah, I'm not.
You'll be all right.
People don't want to hear me anyway, so don't worry about it.
Well, in that case. Okay. Next on the agenda is the restricted parking sticker and visitor passes. And I will turn this over to town manager and to Chief Dunn to present for us.
Thank you. So just briefly, before I turn it over to the chief, the town historically has issued parking resident stickers and parking passes by hand. For a period of time, it was done through the police department. Last year, it was done through the treasurer collector's office. It takes and took a tremendous amount of staff resources to issue the tickets, or excuse me, the passes, as well as mail them. We historically have begun sales, I believe, in May or June? Beginning of May. So over the course of the year, we worked to bump that timeline up a little bit so there wasn't that crunch of residents coming and seeking stickers and passes all at the same time. We also were looking to streamline the process, so as you'll hear this evening, moving the process online, so we are using our resources in the best way possible. We don't have our town collector, for example, issuing parking permits, or a member of the police department issuing stickers and passes, and honestly creating backlog in each of those offices for those reasons. So the team that worked on this is myself, the assistant town administrator, the treasurer collector, Eileen White, Megan Bennett, who is our parking hearing officer, the chief and deputy chief, and Mike Sampson. Thank you. They did do some research to see where Hull stood in terms of parking pass fees and visitor fees. I don't know if I don't want to cut your wheels off. Okay, so the range was anywhere from free, and those free permits were in a lot of the gateway cities or the major urban areas, so Boston, Everett, Quincy, Chelsea, Revere. My guess is those cities are able to offset the administrative cost of those passes and stickers by other subsidies that they receive. There were also communities that were in the $10 to $20 a year range, the $30 to $40 a year range, and there are some outliers. Our most neighboring communities, as examples in comparison, Situate charges $35 a year for their parking pass. Provincetown charges $55. Onset is at $18. And I can't read my handwriting, but there's another community that's at $50 a year. One of the things I would ask the board, the recommendations that you see are just that. They're recommendations from the committee in terms of what those charges should be. The board can decide, otherwise, they're just recommendations, again, based on the research. We are moving to an online system known as City Hall. So there is a $4 per transaction fee for each of those stickers. So at a minimum, we need to make sure that we cover our costs. The parking permit and visitor pass revenue that's generated does support our community service officers. So this is the CSOs that you see over the summer that help enforce parking. I'll let the chief talk to that piece a little bit more. So again, we need to make sure that we are, one, streamlining the process. We're using our internal resources as they're intended to be. We're covering our costs, and we're able to support the CSO program and other functions that the revenues serve. I think with that, I'll hand it over to you, Chief.
I believe you all have a copy of the report. Piggybacking on top of what the town manager said, the staff that met with this recommended City Hall systems, which would take over our issuing of permits and passes, essentially all online. They are cheaper for our printing costs, half the cost that we normally pay for printing the passes and stickers. We last year sold 6,200 restricted stickers and 3,500 visitor passes. That's pretty much around within a few hundred of what we sell every year. As the town manager said, our fees are on the low end of the area. When you look at the map of the area for our annual, we charge people $14 and $7 for stickers. The recommendations I put in here are just recommendations for you to review. You can make a determination if you want to increase or not increase. The CSOs, we couldn't do a lot of what we do with parking enforcement and traffic control without them. They start Memorial Day weekend and they work through almost summer. You see them out there a lot. They're in the high target areas quite a bit. Last year we issued over 1,700 tickets. Many of them were for restricted parking in our areas of town, because the entire town is now restricted since COVID-19, and the board back then passed that ruling. They are very effective. This year was a learning and a growing experience for all of us, and we removed meters and added pay by phone. And add a report to the town manager, which we'll be talking about in meetings sometime in the next month or so. But overall, I think they are very successful. They help us an immense amount of time in the town. They're part-time. Last year we had a very, very good group. I plan on having that group back this year. If we're able to increase these fees by a little bit, it helps me offset the cost of adding CSOs and working with us throughout the summer. They just don't do traffic. They just don't do issuing tickets. They're out there talking to the community. They're out there assisting the community. They're not police officers. They're out there directing traffic. They're out at all our big events now we do and host in town. They help out Porch Fest. They help out in any events that we need additional traffic safety people at. They have no powers of arrest. They do help the crowd control. As I already said, we cannot do half of what we do without them in the summer. I hope you take the information I gave you and determine that there could be some sort of increase. We have not had an increase in town since 2012. We went from $4 and $7 to what it is today, which is $14 and $7 for senior citizens, veterans, and handicapped are free.
Thank you. Jen, anything else that you wanted to add?
Nope. Just to correct myself, it was Marshfield that charges $50
Okay.
a year. No, I think it's just important to consider, some of this is the cost of doing business. The City Hall software there's not a charge to us other than those transactional fees, and as the chief noted, we're also saving on the sticker costs this year, and just as a little bit of a fun fact, we're looking at issuing 250th parking stickers and visitor passes in acknowledgement and honor of the 250th celebration. And I think that's all. Thank you.
So I had discussions with both town manager and Chief Dunn, and I just wanted to fill in some additional information. One is currently it costs approximately $40,000 in staff time to manage the parking stickers and issue these parking stickers. The revenue from the parking stickers, as the chief mentioned, helps to offset the cost of the community service officers. Currently, we have 6. Not current, they're not here now, but last season we had 6 community service officers. The chief would like to expand that to 8 to 10. And again, the parking fees help to offset that. We are other towns, as we noted, are charging more. I also want to say that the stickers allow folks with stickers to park in all town lots, to park in the HRA lot for no charge, and the DCR lots with no charge. So with...
Not the DCR.
Yeah, DCR. Not DCR.
Just the HRA.
Okay, sorry. Let me repeat that. To park in the town lots and the HRA lots.
The HRA lots.
Yeah,
Sorry, not
HRA lots. Okay, with that said, I would like to make a recommendation to amend the fees that were proposed. And what that would be then would, restricted would go from $14 to $20. Seniors from 7 to 10. Visitor passes would be $25, and veterans and folks with disabilities would get 1 pass for each car that is registered to them. We've had in the past where folks have taken multiple passes, so if a car is registered to a vet or a person with disabilities, they would qualify for a free sticker. So before I open it up to the public, I'll turn that over to the board for comment and discussion. Greg?
Well, I'd like to say that I think your change is good. I think going from 14 to 30 is a little too much all at once, so I would be in favor of the fees that you suggested.
Jason?
Well, I just wanted to say first, thank you for coming to us with this, and thank you to the whole police department for all the work they do on patrolling. And I know that this is a tough subject, and maybe not, it's nobody's funnest job or anything to kind of go through or go over, but given the constraints we have in town, I think between the officers and the CSOs, everybody does a good job, and I definitely appreciate when you, because of this shared accountability that we have in terms of us being the commissioners and your responsibility with enforcement, just always with the town manager, bringing things to us, at points like this, and even like you said you're going to do before, coming back to us about the some of the meter changes because, it is a tricky kind of dynamic. We don't see what's happening on the ground as people were not there doing the enforcement. We don't know what happens. But I think given that the department does a good job and works to kind of bring these issues to us are important because for better or worse, that's, a role that we have under the bylaw, and a lot of people in town look to us for work there. So I think I'm interested to hear what others hear on the fee change. I think that's okay by me if we have a discussion about it. The only other thing I would ask and suggest, and I think we talked about this last year, is can we make, given that it's going to go completely online, some hours at the Council on Aging or the Senior Center and the library? Could be either, could be both, where people who maybe have a difficult time purchasing online could, go and get assistance there. Would be a great thing to do if we could.
Yeah, we did discuss that. There's online access at both of those facilities and staff on hand to assist.
And we'll kind of publicize that that's available. Great. So
Thank you. Any other comments?
So, yeah, thank you, Chief. That was a great presentation. Most of the people that I speak to are, I think everyone knows this, they're offended that they have to buy a ticket to park in front of their house. I understand, obviously, the need for it, especially 4th of July. No matter where you live in Hull, it's impossible. And if you want to bring guests in, it's a real pain. But so just to be clear, though, Erwin, your suggestion is to reduce the chief's recommendation from 30 down to 20, correct?
Right.
But to increase the visitor pass from 20, which is his recommendation, up to 25?
Yes.
Just curious why. Why would you increase the visitor
Well,
pass?
if the restricted is 20, I'm open to, this is part of the discussion.
So,
It's just that
just curious, if we could start with, actually my first question is, why is the administrative function of giving out parking passes, why is that immediately a police department function? Wouldn't that be better served as one of the administrative offices in town?
Such as?
I don't know.
well, part
Pick
of
one, or we hire temporary help to handle parking stickers for, 3 months.
No, I mean, we did try that last year, the treasurer collector's office. We don't have a parking office per se, so we're pretty slim staffed as it is, and people have very full days. The parking sticker distribution and administration is much more intense than one might think and time consuming. And so no, it's exactly why we looked. We had our ASO officer stuffing envelopes and stamping envelopes to get them in the mail. If we were to remove that function from town hall and it's at no charge to us, I don't know why we would.
No, I guess, just, again, from an outsider's standpoint, police department, very narrowly focused charge and responsibilities.
But so,
It just seems like something that could be handled from a different department.
well, moving it on, if I can say, just moving it online would address that.
Right.
That's the purpose of moving it onto line.
Years ago, we did 100% of all the parking issuance at police department at the front desk. With the town manager early last year, we requested that we look at doing it somehow different because it wasn't conducive to police work.
Yeah.
Where we have 25 people online waiting to buy a parking sticker when I have a victim of a possible crime,
Right.
someone who's embarrassed, having to try to talk to an officer through the window while there's people standing there wanting a
Yeah.
parking permit. So they did move it upstairs, but there was still a lot of administrative work that we still assisted with. They were inundated with the way that just the amount of people come in. 40, as a senior report, 2/3 of the people still came in to get their passes instead of using the online system.
Yeah, I know it was a big problem last year.
And it was an incredible amount for them to handle and also for us to keep track of downstairs as well as the mailing and stamping. It's literally a full-time job for, I'd say, 2 people, 40 hours at least through the summer months, getting all these passes registered in, sold out, collecting the funds properly, doing all the administrative work.
Understood. I imagine there were some issues where they had to contact you regarding vehicle ID information, or?
That's part of it. we obviously do that because everything's registrable vehicle, so.
Yeah, so again, that's great. It sounds like you guys tried that last year, and that would be my first question. But now we're moving on to an online system, so we have an existing cost of approximately 30,000 staff to do this. And now we're going online, right? And there's an additional $4 fee to process these stickers for residents. When that has to be built in, and it sounds like if we go to the $20, that's pretty much going to cover the fee. Maybe one more dollar, right, if we approve
No,
$20.
I'm sorry, the fee is included in all these charges.
No, that's
The
understood.
processing fee.
Yeah.
It's not
But
additional.
if we are charging 14 now, and we're going to go to 20, but it's going to cost another 4 out of that 20 for the fees, right? Isn't that the case?
If we're charging 20, it's going to cost $4.
Out of that 20
Our
to
revenue
process it.
is 16,
Right,
which
right.
goes back and is able to support,
Understood.
importantly, the CSOs.
Right now, it's 14. At the end of the day, it's going to be 16 if we go to $20. We might go to...
It wouldn't be 24, it'd be 16.
Yeah.
Right,
So again, it's, I think going online is probably the right long-term decision. I'm not questioning that, and all that. I'm just looking at trying to, keep expenses down. But I think I would support the motion for $20, but I would also support reducing the visitor pass. Because most people, if they have a house in Hull, they have to buy a sticker for each of the cars. So it would be at least 2 for a couple. And then you buy a couple of visitor passes. So, when you add it all up, I think I'd be in favor of maybe a $10 visitor pass for a car. And again, I think I
That would
appreciate
reduce from what it is currently.
You're right now at 14.
the visitors are 14. Okay, so maybe the 20 is acceptable, but again, I think that's my mindset, is to try to keep it more reasonable. I appreciate the fact that we need more summer help, absolutely. I just see that as a function of the budget, not necessarily creating additional revenue streams. And again, at the end of the day, these are additional taxes on residents. They are. They're additional fees, taxes, excise taxes. When you add all that stuff up, they're just additional costs that all go into what it takes to maintain a home and live in a community. So I just want to make sure that and it sounds like everyone's on board with,
If I can, fees are income, and income is part of the town budget. And if folks haven't been paying attention or haven't seen it, most of the towns around us right now are proposing overrides. They're cutting their budgets. We will be presented with a balanced budget. So, yeah, it's an additional cost, but we have to look at where the town gets its income from and what the expenses are. So a budget has two sides. It has income and expenses. So this becomes part of the budget. It's not outside the budget or in addition to the budget. And on your point with the visitor passes, if the restricted's going from 14 to 20, then it makes sense for the visitor passes to go to 14 to 20.
So I guess the only other point I would make on that is the biggest revenue stream for the town is property taxes, and we have had a tremendous benefit to the rising values, especially over the last 5 years. So it would be interesting to look at that, like how much has that increased, and how much additional monies do we have coming in from taxpayers on additional property taxes to start with, So again, these fees, when you look at the numbers, it's an additional, if we increase the fee to $30, it goes from $140,000 a year approximately in fees, or maybe more with all the visitor passes, to about double that, 300 to 400. And again, that would fund, obviously, some additional summer help for sure.
Any other from the
Just
board?
A little more of a question. It might be a little bit off topic. Right now, we're charging $50 when someone gets a ticket in the restricted.
Depends on the violation. $50 for a restricted.
So restricted is $50, and we do it every 4 hours,
Yes.
correct? And I don't even know if I can bring it up right now, but I really think we need to do that maybe every 2 hours unless the state passes.
So, yeah,
All right.
we're gonna be coming forward
Okay, all right.
with recommendations
Chief is
on the
coming
park.
back.
Then I can wait on that one.
Yeah.
But I guess just another, we probably don't have the answer, but that $100 fee, is the state close to maybe making a
From what I
decision?
understand, we can actually go forward with it. It's about 99% of the way
Okay,
through the process.
all right, because that'll help, especially with the problems we're gonna have this year with lack of parking.
Yeah, and I think,
So, a question on that, so so when I read 54,000, so it's actually, if it does go up to $100, it's not 108? You said depending on the violation, or?
Most of our violations, historically and this past year, I could get you the exact number tomorrow.
Yeah.
As restricted parking violations.
Yeah, so it'd be close, if not 108,000?
It'd be a fair amount higher, yes.
Okay.
I don't want to say double, but it'd be a
Okay.
good
Yep.
amount more.
Yep.
With the $100 increase and lower into 2 hours. But that'll be part of the next meeting.
Okay, will you have a general idea, again, it'd be general, that those fines, I guess, out-of-towners, in-towners, combination of both?
We don't, I could ask Plymouth County, they're the ones who process,
Okay.
our tickets go to Plymouth County, they process them, collect the fees, issue the late fees, and send a report.
Yeah.
to us. I could ask for that.
Yeah, no, the only reason I asked is because, where I work, on weekends down there in July, it seems to be the out-of-towners that, that are parking illegally. I mean, I could be wrong, but just my own 2 eyes, because I'm over near Kinburma, the playground area, and they're all around the corner, they're at the pickleball everywhere else, and it does seems to be, out-of-towners, which I'd have no problem charging them $100.
From my own experience, because I'm out there also issuing tickets with them, I give, the ones I come in contact with are people not from town. Because nearly everyone in town who wants to park on the street or utilize the HRA has the stickers. There's a strip along where you're heading down to Suicide, across from Cumberland Farms by the monument.
Yep.
That's used a lot by our townspeople. Once in a while, there'll be someone there who doesn't have a restricted ticket and they're ticketed, but our own townspeople do utilize the HRA lots and that area to park.
So if they have a sticker there, it's free? Well, it's not
Yes,
free.
it's posted right there.
Okay, I didn't know if it was posted, okay.
And we, I'll try to get you a number, but I
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm just kind of curious. Yeah.
well over 3/4 of the cities from out of town. Because people in town, they know. They know in town within the first summer being here how it works.
So I have one additional question. The, last year, and you can confirm this, Jen, but there were a lot of people that still came to town hall despite the online system, from what I understand. And is there a plan for that? Like, there are older people that can't get online or didn't get the message? Like, how is that going to work?
We have online access at both the library and the Council on Aging, the senior center, and
And somebody
staff.
can help them through that process. Awesome.
So just my general thought, and we've had this conversation before. Terry had just mentioned, having to charge taxpayers, homeowners that obviously reside in Hull, to charge them to park in front of their houses. To me, it's always been ridiculous. So, and I remember bringing this up months ago. So I totally understand that, fees are needed. But I think the town budget should bear the financial burden as opposed to the taxpayer. That's just my personal opinion. I've always thought about that well before I ever sat here, because I couldn't believe it when I heard this going back years and years. So I'm saying to myself, so we pay excise tax and then we charge homeowners to park in front of our own houses? To me, it's discombobulated. To me, I know the fees are needed. There's no question about it, but I really think it should really more come from the town than from the ratepayers, the taxpayers, the homeowners, whatever you want to call them. It's all the same.
The town only gets its income from one place, and that's taxes. So it's got to come from someplace. And like as I said, other towns, we see them all around us, looking for overrides, cutting their budgets, laying off people. That's not happening here. And we
I
have to.
totally get it.
What if I made a motion to modify the policy so that a homeowner in Hull gets one free parking pass per resident?
Second.
Would anyone second that motion?
I'd have to think about it.
We don't have much time,
What about renters? Just homeowners?
just homeowners.
Renters pay, through their rent, they pay real estate taxes.
I'm not sure I'm not sure you can discriminate between a homeowner and
A renter.
or something like that. For one, that would still incur a charge that we have not budgeted for this year, and we would still be in this current fiscal year, which should be another consideration. So it's
You said
just-
you're not sure, so it is possible, and I did make the
I'm
motion.
pretty certain, Jerry. I'm pretty certain.
And I did make the motion. You guys don't have to second it.
So again, my point is, it shouldn't come out of the police budget, it shouldn't come out of the treasurer's office budget, it should come out of the general funds for the town. That's, again, that's my opinion. I'll stick with it.
I guess I'll just make a comment. It sounds like one of the things that would be impacted if we didn't raise any revenue from this would be the community service officers for the summer. And I think, if the chief is telling us that the CSOs are, an immeasurable help, and I think, I see them out there, and I know that they're, even if they can't arrest or, not arrest, even if they can't issue tickets, I think that they have been quite helpful, and we've used them for many summers, and I think having additional ones is a good idea. So I don't know that I would support a motion that would create a new potential problem like that, especially for this year. So I'm going to take the chief's recommendation on.
Okay, there is a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Did you,
This is Jerry's motion.
oh, no,
I didn't
I
make
don't know the
I
second.
just suggested.
Okay.
Okay, name and address, please.
Anne Murray, on Summit Avenue. Here we go again. I am so tired of programs that come in as a solution to a problem and then over time get so mutilated as to be something totally not what they were brought in for. I've lived in this town my whole life. I live at the bottom of Green Hill, and we get the overflow from Cohasset, people coming in to go to Black Rock Beach. When I was a kid, there was no parking by Wadley Park. It was a two-way street. Then Cohasset, don't notice to those of us who live 50 yards over the town line, oh, it's now a one-way street, and then over time, oh, and now we're putting in parking places, which is great, except that beach is used more and more, and the overflow still comes to my house. My parents were like jackrabbits when we were growing up as kids. You try to put a lawn chair out. My mother would go out to get milk. You couldn't even go to a store on Sundays back then. She'd come home and she couldn't park because I have a property that does not have a driveway. So I'm forced to park on the street. And I didn't want to live the way my parents did. And my parents, we had a real neighborhood. People across the street had kids. The next one had kids. They were like my cousins. So you would call around to your neighbors and say, is this someone visiting you? And you'd spend 20 minutes or half an hour of your summer trying to make sure your friends weren't getting tickets. No, it was just some random person who drove by the beach and didn't want to pay all of the $3 MDC parking rate down there. It's gotten worse. Nobody wants to pay what they're charging now. And I've heard everything in the book that I can't even begin to repeat. They drive, if they're coming up Summit Avenue, going the correct way, they go by at least 6 signs that say resident permit only. They park right by the sign at my house that says it, the one sign. And it used to be, we had community policing. We had beat cops. You actually got to know them and they actually walked the streets. Well, now and the price of the stickers back then was to pay for the cost of manufacturing the sticker or the pass. That's what we were told. Yes, it was issued by the police department. I always thought that was a little excessive. I thought it could be handled by administrative clerk or whatever, but that was a choice. But you went there, you got your pass, you got it right then and there, and you walked out the door. If it's fair and equitable, I can support it. But what's happened is that not everybody in the neighborhood buys into it, and yet the enforcement is not there. As the chief said, yes, there are the bike cops, whatever your fancy name is for them, who go up and down the strip and whatever, but they are in the high targeted areas. You think they're gonna go all the way down to my end of town? And do you think they're gonna go up over a hill on a bicycle? I got news for you, it ain't happening. The most I've seen them is maybe once on a weekend ride down to the wall at Black Rock, take a break and ride back. And what I'm seeing is that those of us who have lived here the longest, who can least afford it, have been buying these passes for years. The newer people who have McMansionized, oh, well, we have driveways, we don't need them. Guess what? They have driveways, but they have kids, they have visitors. Those kids and those visitors park on the street and no tickets are issued. And now It was brought in as a quality life so that you wouldn't have to go out and say to someone, please don't park here because you get such an earful. And over time, it also was a concern of retribution, that if somebody came and saw they got a ticket, they're gonna throw something through your window or worse, and we didn't need that either. So this was brought in as a quality of life issue. 10 or more years ago, a rainy Friday night, a rainy February
I'm
night.
sorry, would you like to finish? There are other people that would like
I
to speak.
understand, but I think I deserve the courtesy of hearing me on this because I live with it.
We're giving you the courtesy, but I'd also like to give other people the courtesy.
I understand that. I'll try to make it shorter, but I know more of the history that you probably don't know.
I agree with you. We do have a 2-minute limit on
Yes.
speaking, and you can have an opportunity to
I
speak again.
appreciate the courtesy of an extra 2 minutes.
I will give that to you after other people have spoken. Okay? Thank you.
Well, I hate to end it in the middle of my comments.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I just want to do 2 quick things. One, and I just want to be respectful. They're
I haven't even got
community
to the points I was
they're
trying to
community
get to.
service officers, and they're part of our staff, and they play an important role in the community. So I think we should refer to them not derogatorily.
Name.
Okay,
I'm not
fair
trying
enough.
to be
They're
rude.
community. Okay, fair enough. But the other thing too is, I just want to say that yes, the chief noted that the CSOs are in the high traffic areas because we have a very limited number of them. And part of the rationale for increasing the fees is to support additional CSOs that then may be able to, I'm not going to speak for the chief, monitor other areas of town where we are or maybe seeing increased parking issues.
Yeah, I could add to that. In my discussion with the chief, that was one of the reasons for trying to increase the number of CSOs to get them throughout the town. You had your hand up? Randy?
Yeah, Randy Gould, 2 questions.
Again, please be brief, because other people want to speak as well.
What's that?
Please be brief, as other people want to speak as well. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm kind of in favor of this, but I was on the parking study committee back when we had the issue of Pemberton, which still hasn't been resolved. But there was always, like Mr. McCarthy says, you're charging people to park in front of their houses. And for every car that's there, you're also charging them. To compound that, the summer people pay more taxes than the year-round people because they pay real estate taxes, and because it's a second home, they pay a personal property tax on their house. Then you're charging them for, because their cars aren't registered there, to buy stickers and visitors passes, which they can only use in front of their house, and they can't use them to go shopping in the rest of the town. I think what you should do is leave the fees as they are, create a revolving account, and have it self-funded, and next year, everybody that has an excise tax in this town gets a free parking sticker. It would pay for itself. You would still get money that goes into the general fund, which runs the town. But the fees in this town, and this is only one of them, the ambulance fee is another one. We pay for things through our taxes, and then we have to buy permits to park in our own town. Just like we buy an ambulance and fund an ambulance, and if we use it, the insurance company pays for it. So we're paying for stuff twice. It's a broken record in this town. And we still haven't an issue fixed the problem in Pemberton, where according to the policy by the selectmen in 2016, that large parking lot, commuter lot, was supposed to be exempt on Saturdays and Sundays, and from after 11 o'clock in the morning. That was developed for the use of other people in town or other outside people to use the facilities down there. And now it's, we don't care, we want to up the rates, and one minute you're saying we're trying to reduce rates, and the next minute you're saying, let's tax everybody that comes into town. It's just not working.
Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am?
Helen Whitney, 115 Hannah. I just had a question. Where did the, all the money collected on parking tickets, where does that money go towards? Like, shouldn't that be part of this?
It goes to the general.
So if you're
And it comes back in the budgets that fund, that support the CSO positions and
Radios, the department. It essentially goes into the
General fund.
And then I'll make a request for equipment or what I need to help support the CSOs. But there still is a surplus that is in the general.
absolutely, I get that, but I feel like that should be said, that could be, yeah, that is part of it, that should be earmarked. And, you know, hopefully that the parking fees should be raised, not the fee, you know, the tickets absolutely should be raised, which is going to make it hopefully a bigger pot. Because I also live in a high traffic area, but I do get the CSOs, is that what they're called? And last time was the first time that they ticketed. I always had to pull them and ask to ticket. People don't care, and nobody tickets every 4 hours, I will tell you that, because I have people parking in front of my house for $50, and they're at the day at the beach, and no matter if I tell them, you know, you can't park here or you're going to get a ticket, they don't care. Because they have a day at the beach and they just have to walk one street over. So, and my other thing that I just want to point out is comparing this that, you know, look at the other towns and they're going for overrides and we're not. I kind of feel like that's apples and oranges, because a lot of those towns that you're referring to offer a lot more services than Hull receives, or the citizens of Hull receive. So I don't really think that's kind of really fair to say. That's it.
Thank you. Yes.
I have just a couple of things. Number one, I saw in, the report, and I think I saw in the report that you wanted to start charging senior passes at age 65. But I was wondering if you could move that to age 60, which is going to be consistent with when the senior center starts servicing people. That I believe it's at age 60.
The age isn't a change. The age isn't, you're asking to change the age, because the age is, we didn't change the age.
No, but I think it's 65.
It is.
That's what it's asking.
So what I'm
Yeah.
saying is
asking
I think
for
it
change.
should be changed to 60, so there's consistency in the town, because if we're servicing people who are age 60 at the senior center, and we're saying that they're seniors, they shouldn't have to pay more money for a ticket, I guess. I'm just looking for consistency through the town, so that when we talk about a senior, we're talking about somebody 60 or older. That's number one. Number two, I thought I also saw in the report that you were going to give unlimited guest passes, and I am against that.
Don't limit it, no.
Okay, so I am against that because I always felt that if you had a guest pass, people were supposed to park in front of your house. So if I were very wealthy and I wanted to go and purchase 100 guest passes, it would wipe all my neighbors out. They wouldn't be, because I couldn't park 100 people at my house.
I think when you get a guest pass, it has the address.
Right, but you're saying unlimited.
Still going to have the address on it of the homeowner.
Yeah, for example, Susan, I'll use myself. I could probably park at three, maybe 4 cars in front of my house. I may buy 6 passes because sure as I sit here, 2, 3, 4 of those passes are not coming back to me at the end of the day. And so we just have them on hand. But you're right, if you only have 2 spots in front of your home, you buy 100 passes, you're probably wasting your money, because if you go and park next to your neighbor, they could and probably should call the department and say, somebody's parked in front of my house that shouldn't be here. The pass won't match the address, and
But
they'll
what
get
I'm
ticketed.
saying, I understand what you're doing, but somebody else may purchase those tickets and think that they can park anywhere.
Right, but they can't. That's what
I
we're
know they
saying.
can't, but what it does is it breeds goodwill in the neighborhood. You know, it prevents people from talking to each other. Like in our neighborhood, I live near Ellen. So when we're having company, we talk to each other. We say, do you need parking? Who's having a party? What, you know, and we figure it out. And if like somebody from Ellen's house wants to park in front of my house, that's okay. They use my guest pass. Okay. But I'm just saying if you, and I'm not saying that, so maybe that's the ideal situation, but there are people who I think will just purchase 30 guest passes, and then I think that's wrong. Where are these people going to park?
Well,
I mean, it's a
again,
way to get revenue, but I don't think
But
it's fair.
the guest pass has the address in it. If they park in front of somebody else's home, they can be ticketed. It's not, so if somebody buys 30 passes and they
What
park
I'm
up the whole
saying is
block.
nobody really understands that. There are a lot of people in this town who still don't understand that these passes are only good for in front of your
Well,
house.
when they get the pass, it has the address on it. I mean, what more can we do? You know?
So I don't know, I guess I'm not, I think there should be a limit. Maybe the limit is 5. And that would be if you had a really big house and you wanted to buy 5. But I would be against somebody coming up and saying, oh, I want to purchase 30 guest passes. I mean, I would question it. I don't know, I just think that they shouldn't be able to do that.
Okay, thank you. There's a hand in the back.
Steve Greenberg, 20th T Street. 2 points. I've been told for the last couple of years I can only buy 3 guest passes at a time downstairs. So I may have been mistaken, but that's what I was told. The other thing is I just want to make a note as the president of the Chamber of Commerce that to dovetail on what Selectman Gray said, we're going to be down 500 parking spaces because of the HRA's decisions. We're going to be able to charge $100 an hour. We're going to have some upset customers. I just hope that somehow we can work together to get the word out that coming to Hull is something you best take the boat to the bus to the beach and back, because there probably won't be a parking space for you. And at the same time, I will say kudos to the town manager for getting us a second bus, pilot program, and a second bus, so that, because it looks like with the limited parking and the parking fine, that public transportation to the Antasket Beach might be the preferable method of getting there.
Yes, ma'am.
Pam Barlow, 6 Old Colony Road. I have a problem with the parking in front of our houses. That's a huge problem for me, and we had a terrible time last summer when my daughter and her family had to live there. It didn't work out well. In terms of tell me what they called again?
CSOs.
Community
Community service officers.
Community service officers.
I remember that.
To be perfectly honest, we were like, when they came to our neighborhoods, we're like, oh, they're riding their bikes to our neighborhoods. It was frightening because some of us were just parked out in front of, maybe I'd park out in front of my house so my husband could get our car out of the garage, driveway or whatever. So it's for those those areas like where you guys live, I totally get that. But for the little enclaves, we don't really want them crawling around. That being said, it's kind of frightening. That being said, so if we're paying an additional $4 per pass, is that correct?
No,
Oh, just per transaction?
no. It's built into the price. It's not an additional charge.
I see.
So You pay, if you buy a pass, you pay $20.
Correct,
The town,
and they get
out of that
18
20,
instead
the
of-
town pays $4 processing.
Okay. Would it be possible, I can't do the math in my head, if you're doing $4, couldn't that buy, I don't know how many people buy these passes or how many passes, couldn't you fund an income for somebody to do that? Instead of the $4 per, do you understand what I'm saying?
Benefits alone are $50,000 for one employee.
Okay, how many?
I'm just saying, so aside from, if you pay somebody, I don't know, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a year to
Yeah, how
come
many
to work.
passes are we selling per year? I missed.
6,000.
6,200. Has it-
Well, 10,000 passes and stickers.
10,000 passes?
Between passes and stuff.
So that's 40,000, that's what I'm talking about.
Some of those are free, so that's not.
But some of them are free. But what I'm talking about is that's a significant amount of money that perhaps paying the service for being online is not the best use of that additional money.
But then
Perhaps you
deduct
could
from
employ
that,
somebody.
deduct from that also postage, the envelopes, the letters with
I
the
see.
parking restriction information, the sticker itself, then the employee, then the benefits. It far exceeds what we're bringing in for revenue, which in part is, and then we're certainly not funding CSOs. And I'm sorry that you think they're scary in your neighborhood. And I think what I did want to point out too is the resident stickers also get you parking in Ken
yeah.
Burma. So
I've been
if you're on the
living
street,
here.
you shouldn't
I've
be
been living
getting
here a long
a
time.
ticket.
Yeah.
30 minutes.
I do know that, and that's a plus. But anyway, I'm going to go with you gentlemen as far as parking in front of our houses. It's insane.
Thank you. In the back?
Susan Short Green, 71 B Street. I'm trying to do some work on these towns that you used as your reference points as comparisons on how much to charge here. And I'm just looking at Marshfield, and I don't know anything about Marshfield. Are they a restricted parking town where everybody in town needs? Because all I can find on their website is a beach parking sticker for this $50 that you mentioned. So these, to me, you using that as your example of why we should move our prices up doesn't jive for me. So do we have any real comparison of a community that's 100% restricted parking that we can compare what they charge compared to what we're charging?
Well, you know, Somerville charges Front Street parking, Cambridge charges Front Street parking, those are cities, because it's very densely populated areas. So, we're one of the most densely populated areas in the state, so we can look at the other densely populated ones. I believe Somerville charges a lot more than what we're asking to charge.
Somerville, well, hold on. Somerville's 40, Cambridge is 25, Brookline's 30, Salem's 10, Lowell's 30, Peabody, this is a good one, $1,000 per year for specific municipal lot reserve spots. That's insane.
So if I could also add, the comparison was to give an idea. It wasn't the basis for the suggested fees. It was to give an idea of what's going on in other towns.
There are also beach communities that was
Yeah.
targeted.
And just another note, I mean, as we're talking about this mechanism is put in place to try to protect our residents' spaces, and it comes with a cost. That's, I know you understand, but I think we all have to remember that as we're talking about the fees. You know, I understand not everyone likes them, but it helps
But can I just
protect the
finish
residents.
my second part of my point? I take exception that you have an agenda item that just says restricted stickers and visitor passes, and you didn't say anything about that you were going to be looking at a change of the system or a new recommendation on the pricing of this. I would hope going forward that you can use more care in your agenda so that the public can read the agenda and know exactly. Greg knows, I reached out to him, I said, what is this agenda item? I want to know what you're going to be discussing. He came back to me and said he thought it was the annual review. So he didn't even know that you guys were going to be talking about this evening. And I really think that's a disservice to the public.
With the agenda, the packets are posted online, and the information was in with the agenda online,
Yes,
and
that's
that would have
what
been
I found.
informed. Right. So you did know
Yeah,
coming into this meeting.
I did know coming into this,
Okay.
but I
Well,
had to do
that's
the
not what I
work to
just
find
heard,
it.
so just wanted to clarify.
And when you would ask me, I didn't have my packet yet.
Does it have, no? Okay. Ms. Murray, do you want to speak again?
So getting back to what I was trying to get to before, I was the guy who showed up 10 years or more ago when they wanted to go from $3 to $25. And I came in as the police chief was doing a presentation, and I said, you know, I pay taxes, number one, and I brought up a lot of the issues I've had over the years. And the police chief, quite frankly, was red-faced. Because what started out as a quality of life program for the residents who were going crazy during the summer with interlopers has now been turned into a revenue enhancement program. And it never should have been that. And it's been expanded. My area was one of the first ones, and there was maybe one other area. And then over time, it grew out to be the whole town. We're paying more, we're getting less service. Bottom line. The last year, I think we can all agree it was I won't say the word, but you'll know what I wanted to say, show. Because it was late in the season, and it was suddenly this change from doing it as we've been doing it for years, going to the police department, to the treasurer's office. There were issues with the town hall being closed on Fridays. People weren't sure about the online system. There were glitches with the online system. God bless the treasurer's office and her staff. They did a great job in a terrible situation they were handed. I never thought it should have been a police officer sitting behind a desk filling out the forms. I thought you could have an administrative person, but that's the way it was for years. And you went in, you showed your papers, you paid your money, and you got handed the sticker and the passes. There was none of this, we'll mail them out to you. You save mailing time, you save mailing costs, you save staff time. You save time for me waiting to get the pass to stick it on my window and then, maybe forgetting about it or whatever. So you created a monster. I hope this system will be better. All power to you to go to a better system than you had last year. This idea of, I'm told, and I met Chief Dunn the spring he was starting here with 2 pages going to the parking committee of issues of this exact thing. And I was told back then, and you don't remember, but I can quote you, there's a new sheriff in town and there'll be enforcement. Well, it hasn't happened in my end of town. And I resent the fact I have to call. The whole idea is that the sticker would be there and the pass is there, so that, and I'm sorry, don't mean it derogatory because they were great, the beat cops would then be able to tell who belonged and who didn't. They didn't have to go knock on your door, they didn't have to question, and they would ticket anyone who didn't have the sticker. I walk up my street to go to the beach, there are all cars parked there from my neighbors, no sticker, no passes, they never get ticketed. I think it's unfair that the guy who's lived in the neighborhood the longest, bought these for the longest, can least afford it, is shelling out money so that when my brother might get a 15-minute break from Jake's to come over and visit, I have to make sure he gets a pass, I have to make sure to take it back, and yet others in the neighborhood are not following suit and paying into the program that supports the summer officers. So if you want to do it fairly is my only thing. And you can check the records and see how many people on Summit Avenue have bought guest passes. Senior discount, yes, there's a senior discount for the resident pass, but I would argue that there are a lot of seniors in town who may not drive anymore, but they still have family who want to come and check on them. And you're still making them pay full freight for visitor passes. I think that should be changed. I think you have a daughter or son who's coming to check on their elderly family member, or they want to come to their childhood beach and have their kids visit grandma, I think there should be an accommodation for that. We've been asked to pay for everything else in this town. 3 schools, turf field, community walking track, sewer things, a lot of those things that many of us never really used. And I think the seniors deserve a break. And I agree with Susan that to be consistent, maybe adjusting the age makes sense. I don't like the fact that I have to call to get service. On a hot Saturday or Sunday, I walk out my door.
Can we focus on the issue at hand, which is the
This
fees?
is the issue at hand. It used to be they would go around and they would ticket. Now you have to call. I'm told to call. I call and I get given the nth degree. Who are you and why are you calling? I'm calling because the police chief told me to call, and quite frankly, I don't think you should need my name. I'm a resident and I'm a taxpayer. That should be sufficient. You make me feel like I'm the bad guy for reporting someone, and I resent it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Susan, did you want to?
So my only question is it possible to have cars towed? What is the threshold for towing?
Don't tow.
I know, but I mean,
Unless they're blocking your driveway, parking your driveway is your responsibility to tow it. If they're blocking your driveway, you can have to tow it.
okay. But
Same
there's,
goes for like the condo complexes. We don't tow from private property, but if they're blocking your driveway, we don't tow them. We go down there and review it. If they're blocking your driveway, they get flat, they'll be taken.
yeah.
But like you said, most people work with their neighbors. I do it in my neighborhood, you just have to do it in your neighborhood. But there are a small group that don't work with their neighbors.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is you get one person who parks in the middle of all the spaces in front of your house. I mean, you know, or some guy comes with a motorcycle and parks. So then you lose all the spaces in front of your house, and you can't do anything about it. And they can stay there the whole day.
So I just want to go backwards for a minute here and look at the math very quickly. So we currently have about $30,000 in employee costs estimated for handling these tickets on a yearly basis, right?
Estimate.
It's going to be a real problem. So we decided, it sounds like we've already decided we're going to go to the online system, correct?
That's the recommendation, yes.
Is that handling just parking stickers or other items in the municipal government as well?
Right now, that's just the parking passes and
What's the
visitor
cost for that
passes.
software system?
Zero.
Okay. And so then the additional fees, and I'm using 10,000 tickets given out as a baseline.
No.
10,000 passes.
Passes. That's what I mean, 10,000 passes in total.
6,500.
Yeah, so approximately $14 each. Revenue coming in should be approximately $140,000, right?
Last year was 113.
Okay, so somewhere in that
Because a
range.
portion of those are free.
110, 120.
All right, so again, the cost to administer all those tickets is $30, with estimated employee time being taken up. And the income coming in is 113, 120, 130, somewhere in that range. Now, we're eliminating the employee costs largely, right, by going to the online system, but the citizens have to incur the costs of, well, if
no.
we increase the ticket costs, it's, you know, that's how it's.
No,
It was
because-
approximately that in employee time. It's not like by eliminating that, we will eliminate an employee position.
No, I understand that. I understand. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is the town is saving because we're not going to have employees have to do all this work, right? There might still be some stragglers that they have to deal with, but it's going to be an online system that's completely handled online, and it takes away all that cost.
No, it's not really. It's an estimated in-kind cost, which means it's taking those employees away from the functions in which they're being paid to do, which also likely means, in turn, it's taking away their availability to some resident that's going to their office to either pay their taxes, to file a report, or something else. And so we're removing that barrier from those departments. You had asked earlier if there's another department that could do this. There is not, because those other staff have other functions.
I understand. So
It's not a dollar.
People are getting pulled from their normal jobs to spend some time helping out with this issue.
A lot of time.
And we estimate the cost is $30,000. I understand all that. What I'm saying is now, in theory, everyone can do their jobs, and it's going to be handled online.
Right.
If we keep the cost at $14, the town is going to lose $4 because we're paying an additional $4 to print out a sticker and mail it. Is it going to be all mailed?
Yes.
So there's, you know, postage costs and all that, and that's included in the $4, I assume. But that's my point, is now, and at the end of the day, it's all citizens' tax money anyways, but the citizens, you know, are paying an additional fee there. So my suggestion is we might want to look at temporary summer help. Again, to the lady's point earlier, that is an option, right? We could say, hey, even, you mentioned benefits. I mean, we can all speak openly about the way that companies avoid having to pay benefits is to hire temporary help, part-time help, right? And we can do that, right? 20-hour week position?
Well, if you're asking me, I'm not, you were looking at me, so I'm not, are you asking me?
I'll answer it. Thank you.
Want to answer it?
Okay. No, we would need to hire staff for the better part of the summer, which would certainly, we might save on the benefits piece if it's a part-time employee, but they're still going to need to issue those tickets. We're still going to need to purchase the tickets at stickers at double the cost they're costing us right now.
And it's not 20 hours.
And it's,
40 hours a week.
right, and it would be
But you would hire more
taking,
people, more temporary help, right? If you estimate it's 2 people for the whole summer, we might hire 4 people for the whole summer and split the shifts, as an example. That's done commonly in industry all the time, right? To keep benefits costs down.
Right, but there's still a salary clause which doesn't exist now, so that's an additional budget item that the income isn't there for. So essentially be no savings if we're hiring additional people to do a job that's now incorporated in other people's jobs.
and if we're creating a new position and we're using the revenue that we're generating from the $14, then we're not funding the CSOs. So if you'd rather, if the suggestion is operationally, we pay for part-time help to issue parking stickers as opposed to hiring CSOs to do the job they do in the
I
summertime.
think that's an unfair, again.
No, that's literally
Well, to the
the
lady's
choice.
point, this has turned into from a quality of life issue to get a sticker on residents' cars for a very low fee just to eliminate having I don't want to rehash all the points, but now it's turned into, wait a minute, this is how we fund CSOs. Again, I'm going to go back to my earlier point that is a town budget function, and if we need more CSOs, I'm all on board. Let's discuss that, we'll vote it, we'll add it to the budget. But
Where are you going to get the money from?
I'm just saying, the suggestion that without these parking fees on town residents, and I know we're asking to double them, more than double them, we can't fund CSOs. I don't think that's an accurate statement. I don't think you want to say that, do you?
Well, I do, because it is accurate.
Can I just say something?
Okay.
If we don't have this income and we hire the CSOs, where does the income come from? It's got to come from someplace else.
Can
So
I
it
ask-
either means, excuse me,
That's fair.
it either means cutting somebody else's job, or cutting a service, or adding an additional cost. We work with a budget neutral. If we have an expense, we have to have an income to cover that expense. So if we say we're just going to drop these fees and hire CSOs, the question is, where does that income come from?
Understood.
It's gotta come from
And so
someplace.
my last point is, how many CSOs do we have last summer? Approximate budget for funding those positions
60,000.
in total?
That's what's budgeted.
Okay, we're bringing in 140 from the current fee structure. 140. So,
The chief is also requesting that we increase that number up to 10. So that this would fund that increase in the CSOs.
And if you're
Stated
doing
earlier.
the one-for-one math, there's the cost of the CSOs, there's the cost of the stickers, there's the cost of the stickers that need to be mailed, because not everyone was coming in so it's, but Jerry, you asked the question, so I'm
No, I
giving,
get it.
people should have the
Again, I'm
full
just-
information.
I'm just trying to separate what looks like an administrative function to hand out stickers to residents from.
It's also,
You know what
yeah,
I mean?
it's
It
not-
shouldn't- I don't think the two should be matched up together.
it's
In other
not
words,
just somebody coming in handing them a sticker. It's verifying that it's their vehicle. It's verifying if they're a resident. There's more to it than just somebody walking in the door saying, here's $14, here's your ticket. We need to track that ticket. We need to track that number to that vehicle, because when a CSO goes out to check, or an officer even, that sticker should, it's just not that
I think
simple
we're
as you're.
I think what you're saying. I think you're overcomplicated. I think when someone comes in, they have to provide documentation for a vehicle, documentation that they're a resident.
A veteran, a senior.
They get this sticker,
Okay,
right?
we have
Nobody's
some other-
monitoring
excuse
things
me, we have a-
long-term.
Well, I just wanted to say, I actually think this system will be much more efficient than certainly anything, it sounds like what we had last year, and then even the years before. And then also with bringing in temporary help. We're hiring a vendor that does this for multiple places, so they do this all the time. I also think, from what I saw in the recommendation, this would be possible to roll out in March, right? And so then if we have that 2, 3, 4 month potential lead time, which we're putting out to a vendor now, which we've never really been able to have in the past because we're pulling people away for a couple weeks or a month, but we're giving it to a vendor that has a system, and so that people have 3, 4, 5 months. The thing I most hear is, people forget to go get their sticker, and then you got to come down, and people would have to wait and all that kind of stuff. But if we put this on notice now and we give people that graceful enforcement period, and they have that 4 or 5 months to get the pass, and then if they're able to go down to the library and the senior center. I haven't gone down to the senior center to do that, and I guess until I turn 60. But for the library, I'm down there all the time, and they're always helping people constantly and about things like this. And I'm sure that they, especially with that long period of time, we have the staffing over 4 or 5 months with a library facility and a council on aging facility where people can go to a physical place, get the pass, and then I get it. I mean, I lose things too, it coming in the mail, but I just think this will be, the system itself that the chief is proposing with the town manager is going to be a much more efficient system than trying to manage, which I don't even think is necessarily appropriate as the select board, a administrative process that we're not in charge of. I think this proposal will make things much more efficient. And, this first year is a learning curve, but if we know people have the resource of going to the senior center and the library, that will help people get over that hump in a big way.
And the goal is to have the passes start in January going forward, so it'll run January through December, so it's also avoiding the high season.
Also, years ago, before my time, but stickers and passes are way before my time. People in this room will have been buying them for years, different fees, whatever the structure was. But back then, we had a regional dispatch center who takes our police complaint calls. There was a fire dispatcher and a police dispatcher at one school street. There was over 25 seasonal officers. Our force was nearly double back then. So you had a lot more people out there walking the beat or patrolling than you do now. An incredible amount more than what we have now. So by doing what we're doing, not only will it make a lot of things more efficient and seamless, we can have more CSOs, we can be more active in the entire community.
How do you think they funded 25 CSOs back then?
They weren't CSOs, they were seasonal summer officers. They were part-time police officers.
We also had Paragon Park and 40 bars to deal with. But I just wanted to point out something. So I'm just doing simple math. Last year there was 9,825 passes pushed out. $6,640 of that was done in person. That's a lot of time for administrative duties in this building to be done. If we go online, and between the sticker and the $3 fee, that's $39,300 well spent to have somebody else do it. We do it with Park and Rec with all that stuff, the people that do transactions through Park and Rec. Some of them, if they're signing up multiple kids, they get charged $17. This is a very small fee. And even what we talked about, increases on the prices, again, everything is about trying to protect our citizens' parking spots throughout town. And unfortunately, that comes with an expense because we have a giant beach that people come to.
So I think going online is a no-brainer, actually. It happened 3-4 years ago with the Harbor Master. I think I get charged $7 fee to go online, and it's really easy. So obviously there's more cars, or vehicles, I should say, than boats. But it looked to be seamless there. I kind of do agree with Jerry that I think it should be separated. If the chief's asking for 8 to 10 CSO officers, I mean, he should get them. And it should come out of the town budget. I mean, again, I'll repeat, I don't really think that, given the tickets, you had mentioned printing and everything else that probably came out of your budget. It shouldn't come out of the police budget. It shouldn't come out of the treasurer's budget. It should come out of the general fund. And again, also, I'll say it for the 10th time. If you get an excise tax, you pay it, you should get a free sticker. Just my opinion. And I've been saying that for 15, 20 years. So.
Do we have any motions on the table that we have to clear?
No, we don't have a motion yet.
All right, so I would make a motion to have restricted parking be $20, visitors passes be $20, still with no limit per pass. Veterans and handicap, 1 sticker per resident free, additional vehicles shall pay the fee. Senior citizens, $10.
Sorry.
Repeat that again.
Yeah.
Restricted sticker to go to 20
For residents.
for residents. Visitors pass to go to 20 per pass. Veterans and handicapped, 1 sticker per resident is free. Additional vehicles shall pay the fee. Senior citizens, 65 plus, $10 each.
So adopting the chief's and town manager's proposal with the modification of reducing their proposal for restricted sticker to $20.
Yes.
Everything else is the same.
No, and
No.
reducing restricted to from 30 to 20.
Reducing
30 to
restricted
20.
For residents is from 30 to 20.
Yeah,
and
that's the
it.
only
That's the only change. Okay, I'll
yes.
second that.
When visitors was at 25, wasn't it?
No, it was, he suggested that in the very beginning, just for conversation.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll second Greg's motion.
okay. So moved by Gray, seconded by McCann. Take a vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
One
Nay.
opposed, 2
Nay.
opposed.
Nay, nay, nay.
Should come out of the town budget, shouldn't come out of the
3 to 2.
piece budget.
Okay, the motion passes. The vote is 3 to 2.
Yeah, great.
Randy Gould, 2 Cushing Street. I went on the parking website tonight, and it still hasn't been upgraded. There's no mention on the parking clerk's site of how the app program works, what the hours are, or anything. Is that also, the municipal parking lot list is not accurate. I went through it last year. It doesn't list the Helen Street lot. It lists Atlantic Ave just past the pump station. Those parking spots have been eliminated with the Atlantic Ave project. And it says there's 2 handicap spots at Stony Beach Road. One of those has been eliminated. So
Duly noted.
you're still behind the 8 ball in getting information out to the public. It's not hard to update this stuff. People want to know, you tell them to go online, and that's where they're going to go to get the information, and it's not there. I still don't know what the hours of the parking app are. There's nothing printed anywhere.
Right now, they're not. We'll take a look at it and we'll update the site. Thank you, Randy.
Well, thank you for pointing that out, and we'll be looking at...
Last year, nothing was done.
Okay, well, we'll be looking at the parking app, and I'm sure you'll...
Can you fix the parking signs in Pemmican commuter lot to reflect the policy?
Can I have a
I
conversation?
have a rebuttal, go
All right,
ahead.
no, I'm just gonna have a conversation with you. So restricted parking goes from one end to the other. If there are hanging signs in that lot that need to be taken down, the same rule applies from one end of town to the other, and it includes that lot. So I understand you keep bringing up the previous plan, but the restriction town-wide trumps the old plan. The old plan disappears.
According to your parking regulations, on the second page, restricting parking areas defined. All residential streets and ways in the town are subject to this restricted parking plan unless otherwise posted. It is otherwise posted, so it's not restricted,
Which means that needs to come down.
Yeah.
which means it should be corrected.
Which means that sign needs to come down if it's still there. That's what, I know we've talked about it
posted.
countless times.
Wait a minute. I go by rules and regulations, black and white. It says here, unless otherwise posted. That commuter lot is posted with the incorrect signs, and they should be the same signs as out on the street. That was in the selectmen's policy in 2015. That policy hasn't been changed. The town going wholly restricted does not change that plan because it's posted, which is what your parking plan says.
Can we
We'll take a
follow
look at
that up and look into it, please? Thank you for pointing that out. Next, I'd like to, while the chief is still here, I'm going to skip down to approval for conditional offer of employment for full-time police officers.
We're currently in the process of background investigations. I requested a list back in August for two full-time slots for 2 officers that retired between September and December. We started the background process with 12 people notified that they were eligible on the list, and we had 5 people respond back that they'd be interested in working in Hull. From that, we've narrowed it down to the 2 names before you. After going through a partial background, these 2 people I'm recommending that you offer a conditional hire to. It does not mean their background is done yet and they're ready to be hired to go to the academy. They still have to go through a medical exam, psychological exam, physical aptitude test. Once that's done, then we can notify the police academy that they're eligible to attend. And once there's a slot, which we're estimating now should be sometime in May, early June, they can then enter the academy.
So this is an approval conditional then on them going through the medical, psych, physical, and...
What you're approving is that we're required to notify them they've been conditionally offered a position based on them passing the remaining parts of the background investigation, which are the 3 things I named.
Okay, this is for James T. Denton and Neil L. Riley, correct?
So I think we can vote. I don't know, this should be 2 seconds and out. So I make a motion to approve the conditional offer of employment for full-time police officers James T. Denton and Neil L. Riley.
Seconded.
Okay. Moved by McCarthy, seconded by Taverna. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to look at the beach management plan. I just want to correct a mistake here, a typo in the agenda. This is not for adoption. This is being presented to the board now. It's 151 pages, I believe. And it will be back on the agenda in March for review and adoption. So this is a presentation of the plan, and the board will have a copy of the plan, and is it posted on the website? Is it on the website?
Just quickly, so we're right up to the finish line delivering this to the select board for their review. This is policy setting, so this is right in your wheelhouse. The version that's online is easily defined. It's in a number of different places. If you go to that, that's the document that you will review and make comments, and if you see issues, to please direct them to me or to the Beach Management Advisory Committee. Either way, just make sure that I get them, because I'm the funnel that puts it in the final document.
Chris, for the folks that are watching, could you tell them who you are, please?
Certainly. Christian Crawford, Director of Climate Adaptation and Conservation for the town of Hull. Just to be brief, that document's available for review, and we're hoping to have those edits and other comments back. There are some errors that still remain in that document. I think Barrier Beach is defined twice in one of the appendices. Some of the appendices have some page number mistakes. And I think the big issue that we were rushing around today to get addressed was the dog policy bylaw, which states that dogs are prohibited on the beach from June 30th till September 15th. So the document you'll be reviewing, you'll see a number of different windows where that is stated. That's been corrected to be consistent with the bylaw. So please take a review. It's a huge document. It's the beach management piece that sets the policy, establishes responsibilities, and outlines many of the different things that this community, through a public process of well over a year, has developed. And I really don't want to be the major spokesperson for this, but I know that there's a couple of representatives from the Beach Management Advisory Committee that can speak to that briefly. I do want to say that the real important distinction that is emerging from the beach management plan is we are also doing an maintenance and operation plan, an O&M plan, that requires permits. So there are two plans. The beach management plan has an appendix that includes what we're trying to permit as well.
Okay, thank you. Susan, did you want to add anything from the Beach Management Advisory Committee?
I don't know if anybody had a chance to review it or look at it or read it. I mean, I don't know if you have questions. You know, I think it's a really good start. We've needed something like this for a long time. You know, our committee has worked very cooperatively with Woods Hole Group and with Chris to try to get this thing done. It's taken a full year to get it really worked over. The thing that you have in front, you'll have everything, plus you have the public comments, you have everything if you want to read it, from all the public engagement and everything we did. And also an appendix that gives suggestions on how to even maybe improve it a little bit more. I'm hoping that it becomes sort of a working document and it can be reviewed annually. There is a suggestion in the plan that the Beach Management Advisory Committee have a seat at that table, and I would love for that to happen, because I think we still are the link between the town and the public. Every summer we have a summer forum, and we've been, you know, pretty involved in engaging the public. I think you know, that we've worked hard to sort of think of anything that we could possibly think of that goes on in the beach, make sure it's all covered. As I said, as Chris said, we did realize that the dog bylaw really needs to be rewritten, because it's just outdated and it doesn't really make sense the way it's written now. So we're hoping that that can happen. We realize that it's probably too late for that to happen for town meeting this year, but if there's a special town meeting, it's something to consider. I think it's not going to be a simple thing to do. I think changing the dog bylaw is going to be a lot of work, actually, to get it accepted and before the people.
Yeah, just to be clear that the beach management plan makes no attempt to change current bylaws. It certainly identifies some issues. It is actually the stage or the backdrop by which we're going to manage the beach. That every one of you, and most of you have attended these public meetings, have provided input. It's not the document that's going to give everybody what they wish to have on the beach, but it captures all of what the citizens raised and wanted addressed. And as a small example, you know, this fall we had excessive seaweed accumulation up in the northern part of the beach near Allerton Cove. We didn't have a plan to address those, and we never had it captured in the beach management plan. So those new emerging issues, the plover management that emerged since the last beach management plan, which was updated in 2018. A lot of things have happened since then that this plan tries to capture. It may not capture everything. Incidents that might be related to sharks, we haven't figured out how to put that in the beach management plan. This is one that tries to capture, you know, that huge truck tire that was buried in the sand that we didn't have a permit to go and deal with. This lays that out, and then in the back of that, the pieces that DPW has a permit that says, yeah, we can go on the beach to do that. So we're laying that groundwork and putting a place where the O&M piece can happen.
On behalf of the board, I want to thank you, your staff, the Beach Management Advisory Committee, and all the work that's gone into it. It's been an open process. Woods Hole worked with you on it. So it's nice to see it get to this point. So thank you.
Agreed with all that. I mean, so I have been looking at it as it's been updated and changed a little bit over time, and I'd say the biggest thing that came out of it for me, and this intersects with the Capital Improvement Committee and the meetings we've been having and getting that plan together. There's some of the things in here about the dune restoration, the dune opening repair, large vegetation restoration programs, that are going to be, significant capital projects. We're talking about this as it connects to something. A person had a question about the master plan. Like, obviously, you're saying, this is a step. There's another maintenance plan kind of coming, but having getting to those requests kind of sooner than later, I think, to the extent there is something we can get going on, because what I'm seeing with the Capital Improvement Committee is it's the first one we've done in a while, and obviously it's evolving, but we're making decisions based on what we have in front of us now. And I know for myself and a lot of constituents, one of the big things, roads is a major one, but one of the big things people are concerned about is sea level rise and, the state of the dunes and dune restoration, the dune openings. And so it's, even though some of this is cart before the horse, the more we could take some of those recommended management strategies and build them into something, even if it's incremental, just so that through the process, things that are related to dune restoration don't get short shrift. I know that they won't, but the fact of the matter is we're looking at the projects we can do when we do them on a rolling basis. And every time that we're looking for that fiscal year, for example, I want to make sure if there's something sensible we can do in terms of dune restoration, that we're doing it. And that may mean it's not something for the Capital Committee. The Capital Committee is only for projects 50K or more, but that's the biggest thing I see out of this. Like, this is an extremely comprehensive, thorough, well-vetted, community engaged document. And when it comes to those specific strategies that we know we need, we all just want to see it happen sooner than later. But like getting into this new process that we have is so great. Is the thing I most want to see next. So.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, just quickly, I mean, as far as, this plan is really to really capture what we actually do on the beach. So there's really no capital expectation at this point. There may be, I mean, if Chris Gardner and his team have to go up into Point Allerton Cove to try to deal with those huge mounds of seaweed, and they come across a technique that requires some resources, we can't figure out what those are until we get to those. I mean, putting, a piece, one of the things that I've learned in my discussions and interactions with DPW is putting vehicles or equipment on the beach is not a good thing to do. I mean, saltwater isn't very friendly. So, that kind of strategy still has to be worked out. It used to be in the past, the DPW would contract out somebody because they didn't want to have their equipment. So all of that, we're unfolding a plan. The community has recognized, hey, we need to do this stuff. Oh, by the way, we would like to have weekly cleanups. What kind of crew does that take? So we don't know, but the plan lays this out. Hey, this is what the community wants. And in the back of that is a piece that says, okay, here's the permits for all of these things for you to do. And that permit's only good for 3 years. And it's going to sit in the back of that beach management plan. That's going to constantly be revisited and required through regulation to be updated. So that's the living part of that document. And occasionally that's got to feed back into that whole narrative, the policies that you guys are setting, and the structure of management and the responsibilities. Hey, this is a community document, and this is this takes the community collectively moving forward. So
I guess just the one thing I was thinking of more specifically is I saw a management strategy in there for nourishment on North Nantasket Beach. And I know that that's an extremely complicated thing. We've done it before. We've tried the sand match, but I know to the extent we're always thinking and evaluating if an opportunity does come forward, even if it is a sizable, that would, to me, would probably be quite a sizable capital investment, right? But if that's a management strategy that we know we want to activate. Not necessarily like the maintenance pieces, but like something like that, like something huge that we should be doing, or think we should be doing now that we have this in place and that strategy was recommended to us, because that would be a huge capital project, right? So,
And that dialogue is happening with the Commonwealth and Nantasket Beach, DCR to some respect. And you're right, that's a future project that the town right now is continuing to poke at. Right now, the big question is, hey, can we grab the offshore borrow sites that are just offshore and get that sand in? And that discussion is vigorous. And this isn't the place to go into that kind of detail. Those are put into the beach management plan because we have a view of what we need possibly for the future, so we don't want to. The beach management plan doesn't look to implement that. It identifies that. It says, oh, by the way, we've looked at this, and it sets the case for that.
Right. Thanks, Chris.
Anything else?
So, the dog dates, is that a change? It seems to me it was always earlier, June 30th, right?
The signs on the beach have it as June 1, but our bylaw is what we really need to go back to. And as Susan Mann said, we should probably revisit the bylaw, but we can't. And we had a healthy discussion at the Beach Management Advisory Committee the other night, and even amongst those committee members wasn't an agreement. But the bylaw is the bylaw.
What does it say now?
June 15th, June 30th to September 15th.
It is, okay. I thought it was early. I thought it was like Memorial Day to Labor Day type of thing. Okay. So I did breeze through the whole document. It's extremely long. The appendix is probably 30 pages, right?
Yeah, they're not necessarily for leisure reading, but they capture, hey, we did this work with the community. The community actually said something. We're putting it in the document. And then, some of those is, hey, here's the response. And there's been some responses that weren't favorable, and we're tweaking those now, that kind of thing. So the appendices serve that purpose to support pretty much 1 through 3 or 4 of the sections of the document. And I appreciate waiting.
And I'll read deeper, more detailed into it, but you mentioned the fact that now with the beach management plan and the permit in the back of it, Town Hall is going to be set up basically to address issues as they arise, right? Last year we had an issue with seaweed and we didn't have the permit in place, and so is that accurate? Is that
Yeah,
kind of how that works?
But the permit piece is really important. That goes before the commission. That's why it's an appendix, because the commission may decide, wait a second, this procedure does not serve the purpose of protecting the public interest for these reasons. So that's before the commission right now. And in fact, it's on the agenda for Tuesday. We are also, for lack of a better word, mandated by Fisheries and Wildlife to have an updated beach management plan in place. And, I would say that mandate is unnecessary because this community has been working diligently for that. But guess what? Now it's there. So I'm hoping, we're still stuck with a couple of permits through Fish and Wildlife. And that's been the big hurdle right now.
Gotcha. So in theory, if we had an issue in the summer, early summer, say July, and there was a big seaweed issue, that's my question, is will this plan and plan for having a permit prepared for 3 years, right? Will that allow you to address those issues much more quickly?
Yes, and in fact, when you read it, put that in your mind. Okay, how are we dealing with seaweed accumulation, excessive seaweed accumulation? That specific issue is addressed in the beach management plan, but it's also captured in the permitting piece. Yes, DPW needs to go with this truck and that truck with these tools to do it this way, and then
Gotcha.
deal with the seaweed.
So,
On the seaweed, just to be clear, on the seaweed, there are also multiple departments that have a say in whether or not seaweed.
right, the health department, right?
Correct.
First and foremost, yeah, understood. And that's all, that's what I was getting at, but again, I'm gonna, the biggest issue from the last 2 years related to the beach has been routine maintenance, right? People, whether the town agrees that that's required or not, let's put that aside for a minute. There are a lot of people who have stated they would like to see what was done in the old days, which is temporary DPW staff, some help, is walking the beach once, twice a week at a minimum to kind of reduce the trash and keep it looking good. And that's, I think, the expectation for being included in this beach management plan or the operations and maintenance plan, which you mentioned, but you did say it was permitted as well. So this seems like an unpermitted, right? We don't need a permit to have 2 or 3 kids walk the beach, do we?
I think it is actually proposed in both the beach that's what folks have asked for.
You don't
And
need a
that's
permit to
what
clean
is
the beach,
put
though.
before the commission to do that.
What was that, Susan?
You don't need I said you don't need a permit to clean the beach.
Right,
When you're doing a hand cleaning.
correct.
I think the difference is with a lot of seaweed, it becomes more than just a hand cleaning.
No, I understand.
Large objects.
Right, in terms of
large
everyday cleaning of plastic things, man-made trash, that's separate, that doesn't need a permit.
Understood. Yeah, it doesn't need a permit, and that's what I'm getting at is,
They do monitor it on a weekly basis.
no, I know they
The
do.
distinction is what happens, what the beach looks like at noon versus what it looks like at 12:05 could be very different, right?
Yeah, no, my question specifically is, does the beach management plan recommend that the town provide that regular maintenance during the summer months when there is so much activity down there? Or is it just not addressed?
So the way it used to be, a truck, guys with buckets picking up and following that's being asked to do that again. It's because folks wanted that. Yes, we want our beaches to be maintained weekly by DPW. Go up and down the beach and collect all the garbage. So the question is, the details are, okay, so that's before the commission. You know, we got plovers, Mass Audubon might say, hey, no, leave the seaweed. So that little friction, that detail is in the permitting that's before the commission to be worked out.
So again, you're bringing in permitting, I'm just talking about regular maintenance. Unpermitted, regular, can we have a couple of people walk the beach to do regular cleanup and maintenance?
The way the plan is now stating is that will probably happen once a week by DPW, all right? There's also a little section in the plan that talks about a volunteer beach cleaning group.
Which we have a few, right? Yeah.
But to do the weekly cleaning,
The
that
weekly
requires a
cleaning.
permit if you're putting a truck on the beach in plover habitat.
Yeah, but
We're not talking about that.
we're not talking about trucks, though. He's not talking about trucks. He's just talking about people walking on the beach, picking up trash on a regular basis, correct?
Exactly what we saw in the 1970s and the 80s and parts of the 90s,
No, I
yes.
get it, I get it.
Exactly what I'm talking about.
So right now, it's probably going to happen once a week. That's what I'm saying.
That's fair, that's good, that's an
Yeah.
improvement, yeah.
Yeah, it is. And by DPW, okay? And what I'm telling you is there's also a little group that we have created of volunteers. We have a website, and we have an organized way to get volunteers, and it's our plan to do regular volunteer beach cleanups.
Fantastic.
Okay. So, and they will not require any kind of truck on the beach, so.
Just to try to wrap it up, that's what this plan is for folks to look through. See if it does capture exactly what you're asking, and then to get feedback as quickly as you can.
No, I appreciate your input, because again, 175 pages, I did try to get through there and find this, I couldn't find it, so I appreciate the input.
It's on the agenda, what, March 11th?
March 11th, it'll be on the agenda, and we will all have read it page by page by page.
I just say one more thing that people should know. Sort of in the spirit of collaborating with different groups. And so, we've helped write the beach management plan, and we put together this little volunteer group, the beach volunteer, the action group that will help clean the beach. We're also partnering with the beautification committee. And so they're having their Hull Cleanup Day in April 18th.
Yep.
And our little volunteer group is also going to clean the beach that day.
Again, I do want to thank your committee and thank Chris and his staff. The collaboration really helped get this together with a lot of public input, and I'm sure moving forward we will implement it and keep the beach as clean as possible, but every high tide is going to bring something new to the beach. So,
Mr. Chairman, I have one question. Chris, so when it reaches its adoption stage, the permits you talk about, those are ones we have to require from the state, correct? What is the timeline after adoption, so like we're not waiting like last year? Expectations is to get this cleared and be ready for this year.
Yes.
But I think if there's something in that packet, it may slow down our expectations. I just wanted to make sure that some of that has to reach that level of the state.
So the permitting aspect, the O&M plan is before the commission, is currently under review by the Division of Fish and Wildlife. All the other agencies have signed off on it. So it's pretty close. And we hope to be, I've asked the commission to spend the time so that we could be ready this next Tuesday to consider what they would like, what they were requiring, and what their conditions are. And then to make that decision, and then pending anything that we would be required from natural heritage. So I think we're pretty close. It's great that both the O&M plan and the beach management plan are, right on, about to hit, I think it's completion, adoption, order of conditions about the same time, so that we're ready to go in, before the end of March. It's the idea, Plover's coming, and then a lot of restrictions do happen in the beach where it becomes more of a challenge.
Thanks.
okay. Thank you. I think that covers the agenda. We'll move on to updates. Town manager update.
I do not really have any updates this evening. I guess the only one I would note is the architects have been through the middle school with electricians, contractors, just putting the spaces, checking, making sure outlets are where they need to be for desks and whatnot. So that process is just moving forward.
We were going to be posting an activities coordinator at the Council of Aging. Unfortunately, Julie, the employee that we hired, who is wonderful, has had an unfortunate situation come up and had to resign. So we will be reposting that position, which is unfortunate because she was excellent. So we're going to have to fill that again. But I think that's it.
Jason?
Oh, I just wanted to note I think we'll have a meeting before, but just in case the snow row at the Life Saving Museum, March 7th, 2026. And they're doing the viewing, it's taking place at noon, and they're also doing the viewing boat. And I think, as we heard a couple weeks ago, this will be the launch event for the 250th anniversary.
Right. Great. Thank you. Greg?
I just have one thing I'd like to mention. Last week, between our last meeting and today, there's been a little animosity about planning board roles and responsibilities. So I kind of went on the state website today, and I just want to read the core responsibilities of a planning board. Subdivision control, administrating the subdivision control law to ensure adequate, safe access to new developments. Master planning, developing and updating the town's or city's master plan of official maps. Zoning recommendations, reviewing, creating, and submitting zoning amendments for local legislative approval. and site plan review, reviewing commercial and residential developments for compliance with local regulations. I just think it's important that people know that because unfortunately things are getting nasty on social media again, so that's all I got.
I'd like to pick up on that, and I think disagreement is a healthy thing, and that's how we come to work things out. But on social media, if you disagree with somebody, it doesn't mean you have to make all sorts of accusations about them or question their ethics, their abilities. And I just think that what we're seeing on social media in the last few weeks has gotten out of hand. Again, if you disagree with people, if you have different ideas, please bring them out, but do it in a way that doesn't attack the person because they happen to disagree with you. And I think it's unfortunate that we see it not just here, but we see it a lot with social media, that it frees people up to say things that they wouldn't say to somebody in person. So if you wouldn't say something to somebody in person, don't say that on social media. And I hope we can move forward in a much more collegial way. We're all in this for the same thing, for the benefit of our town, to improve our town. So I just leave it at that for a plea of more civility on social media about town employees, elected folks, and committee members. People devote a lot of their own time as volunteers to work for this town and deserve to be thanked for it and not attacked. So, thank you.
So I don't have much. Thank you, Susan, for bringing it up. So the Beautification Committee is going to have the second annual public cleanup day. It is April 18th, and the rain date is the 19th. So last year was pretty good. We actually got people for the whole weekend, so they cleaned up in the rain, and then they came back Sunday. So we did a great job. I think we got like a 30, or even I think bigger, 30-yard dumpster. I think we overflowed it.
Yeah.
So I think that's a great thing as well. And then again, last week I attended, well, I've seen Erwin there, the Affordable Housing Committee had the ADU seminar or program, very informative.
It was well attended.
Yeah,
too.
well attended. And I think there's going to be some information online too.
Yes, yeah. I think they're putting the recording and the slide pack, which didn't get shown. I think that'll be online as well.
Yep. So, and that's about it.
So, my question, I guess I have a question. Social media thing, that's 2 weeks in a row. Things must be getting bad. I've been trying to stay off that as much as I can. It's interesting because on the one hand, we're using social media to put stuff out there, and then on the other hand, the negative side of the whole thing, I understand that. But so my question relates to the fact that about 3 weeks ago, town manager and consultant presented to the HRA, the chair of the HRA. I had a discussion with them.
That's not accurate either.
Okay. So the chairman of the HRA and the vice chairman said to their board that they met with the town manager
And not the consultant.
Okay, I apologize for that mistake. But anyways, my question relates to the fact that at that meeting, the HRA was presented as the very first choice, the top choice. That's how it was reported in the Whole Times.
I don't report in the Whole Times. That's not accurate. If the question is what was the discussion,
I watched the
I'm
meeting,
happy-
and that's my understanding of what was said at the meeting by the chair and the vice chair. So
Okay.
I'm not arguing with you. I'm just saying that
No,
was.
neither am I, Jerry, but if you're going to say something and the question is what was the conversation, just let's be accurate. I did have a conversation, as I did explain, with the chair and the vice chair of the HRA, because the HRA property did come up, as this board heard last week, I believe, from the consultant, that property was one of the more viable properties to locate
It is. I'm not arguing that point.
building. And I gave them the heads up because it came as a surprise to us, and I don't think anybody here would debate that the HRA property, which it seemed to be, was a surprise to most people, and that property is controversial, I guess, or, it's a focus in the community of what is there. What I do want to clear up is it was never said that it was the top priority. It was one of the top 3 choices, not choices.
That was my question,
No
because-
decision's been made.
Yeah.
The 3 most viable locations, the top 3 out of the 6 top viable locations.
So
That's all that was communicated.
That was my question. So there is some confusion there. It was reported incorrectly. I think maybe some of the statements in that HRA meeting, you should maybe take a look at that, because that's what was conveyed. Anyways, regardless, that's my question is, I see that hope, and I've said this a million times, so I'm just repeating myself, and I apologize for that. And I'm saying this as respectfully as I can. I see that decision, which was made by a group of people in town, including the consultant, town manager, and a bunch of other people. I see that as an executive level decision that the select board at a minimum should have been included in. That's my only point. And it seemed like the decision was, first it was the top choice was the HRA, but then when it was presented to us, it was one of the top 3 choices, and actually this location is the top choice. So again, my only point to bring this up is I see these as not day-to-day decisions. I don't. And I see them as decisions that should be made instead of in a vacuum, and I say in a vacuum because it doesn't include the select board. It should include the executive level policymakers who are charged with
Can I
this.
respond? Let me, for one, when I introduced the consultant and the report, I was very clear that no decisions were made. This was the consultant's findings. We will be appointing a committee that will be looking into it, and these findings from the consultant will be used to inform that committee's work. So no decisions have been made. It's not an operational decision. But again, I think, I don't know how much clearer we can be. That was the consultant's findings with recommendations, but no decisions have been made.
That was very clear. Yeah, I understand
Yeah,
that.
can I just clarify one thing? So, sorry, Erwin, because this is part of the confusion, right? They weren't recommendations necessarily. There was feedback given from staff. This is what the consultant was hired to do. This is the consultant's, and let me say this loud and clear, independent recommendations.
Best options he selected. Understood.
Yeah, but he didn't select them. He has their criteria.
He looked at all 26 locations and he picked those top 3. I understand that. Yeah.
So I don't understand what the issue is then. There have been, again, no decisions
So
have been made.
I'm going to give you an example of what my issue is, if I might. And again, I'm going to say it very respectfully. So as an example, the consultant met with a bunch of people, and all of these ideas were thrown out there. There was no input from the select board. This is my point. As an example, let's use the property across from the fire station. Has anyone contacted the owner of that property to see if that person would be willing to sell that property to the town, as an example? Was that part of the process?
I would say if that came to be, that would not necessarily.
The chief, if I can, at that meeting, at our last meeting, the chief said that property was too small, was not appropriate for their needs. I think that was a very clear statement that the chief, when that question came up, the chief had said that. Again, when a consultant is hired to look into it, what they're doing is gathering the information. We hire a professional to gather the information that then decisions can be made with. The consultant didn't make any decisions about where things should go, and they looked at all the possibilities in town, and they rated them, but that doesn't mean that whatever was rated is where it's going to go. That's information then that the town can use and the select board can use and the committee can use to determine how to move forward. We need information to move forward, and that's what that
And that's just one step, that's just one piece of the information. The next step, as you heard, was community engagement. So that will be another piece of the information that is ultimately brought to the board and staff, and a decision will be made. So I'm sorry if you hear frustration, but there is frustration because there is a lot of misinformation that's being generated on social media and other places that's just not accurate. And we're trying to, when professional integrity is questioned because people are saying, oh, the town manager told the consultant what to say, I don't know how else to say, it's baloney. I mean, it's just baloney.
And that's fair. My only point is, again, that the executive level policymakers should be involved early on in the process, even in an initial meeting. Hey, this is what we're thinking of doing. This is what we're planning. These are the,
That happened last Wednesday.
Can I respond? So Jerry,
Just a second,
That was when
Brian.
the report's already completed. That's my
There's
point.
no, the report, this is again, and I'm sorry,
The presentation,
the report is not yet
presentation to the
completed.
board was completed, and all these sites were looked at with no input from the board. And again, I'm sensing a lot of animosity. I hope you're sensing the frustration on my part, because
It's not animosity. What we're trying to do is explain to you what the process is. Now that we have that information, we can move forward. I don't know how else to explain it. There were no decisions made. We had, you said decisions a number of times, by the way. We had professionals come in, look at it, complete a report with gather all the necessary information so that we can move forward in the process. That's all. All this is step one. The board will be involved at all levels of it as we move forward, including appointing the committee of residents. There are other folks that want.
Can I just make a point of order? I think we're talking about a topic that wasn't noticed on the agenda, and I don't like to talk about things or debate things that people didn't know we were going to discuss. So if we had on here that we were going to discuss the public safety building, I think we could have this discussion. But it's not fair to people who look to see what we're talking about, and then we end up talking about something. I hear that a lot from people.
Good point. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Pick up Brian first.
So I think we're putting the cart before the horse here. We haven't even enacted the committee yet. So we are in step one.
Yeah.
So again, let's have these arguments months from now, as opposed to mid-February, at 9:30 at night. Again, this committee, if we do it right, and we put the right people on, they're the ones that are going to come back to us. I guess one of us is going to be a liaison to that board as well, correct?
Well, you're on the board,
One of
not a
us will be,
liaison.
there'll be a select board appointment to the
Okay,
board.
so, yeah, this is just the beginning. And I kind of read, I don't read all tons of them, just for some reason, my ticker is getting low. The point is, though, we're just starting. We just had the first discussion. We haven't even compiled a board yet. So to have these conversations, it's fruitless.
I know. I just
let let that committee do their job, and then we can have a serious conversation of where, when, how, and how we're going to pay for it as well.
right. So mine will be quick, and it's just about process. Town meeting approved the money. The two departments that are vital to decision making in whatever gets built. It started there with the consultant, got their feedback, and came to us. That's the process. That's when it comes to us.
There are 3 sites currently.
No, it's not sites, not sites.
I think we have to end this, excuse me.
That's where I have an issue.
We have to end this discussion now because it's not on the agenda. This is about updates, not to have a debate. We will have it on the agenda, and there will be plenty of time to discuss these. Do you have any other updates? Okay, thank
You
you.
got something out there.
Sir?
A couple things. I'm going to go to Cushing Street. If you remember back in August, I think it was, September, we had a meeting up at Fort Revere, and we were going to discuss some of the ideas we can do up there. And unfortunately, CPC didn't forward the fencing, the landscaping, and the lighting, and also the lighting in the tower. So I was just wondering, is that still going to go forward, that meeting, so the groups can discuss what needs to be done up there?
I could quickly respond. So there wasn't enough funds to go for everywhere?
Yeah.
So the lighting, whoever I think it was the beautification committee for the lighting on the tower. I think the plan is for them to come back next year for next year's round. The CPC really wanted the fence, the landscaping, like there's parts of their thoughts that they wanted to do that we don't even know if we can do because of the state property. So that part of it needs to be looked at a little more. Like,
Well, that wasn't my question, was, we met with Erwin and Mr. McCann. Jen was supposed to be there, but she had meetings. So we were supposed to meet at some point here with department heads to discuss what we were gonna go over that day, and I just wanted to remind you. is that
Okay,
still
we will
on?
continue that discussion,
And the
absolutely.
second thing is, you talk about social media. Unless you know how to drive a truck with a plow on it, those people on social media lambasted this town on the way they handled that snowstorm. And having ground my teeth in the blizzard of '78, I know what it's like to be out in the truck for 16 hours pushing snow. And for the limited resources that only 9 guys have, I think they did an outstanding job.
Agreed.
And if anybody wants to have an opinion on that, next snowstorm, I'll be glad to take them out in my little truck and show them what it's like.
Thank you, Randy. It's well said and so important. Yes?
Just a community update for those who don't read the Hull Times. In the community calendar, Friday at the Hull Public Library, they've arranged to have the MBTA come down and do a presentation on reduced fare, senior discount, handicap, whatever, fares from 10:30 to 11:30, I think it was. And then you, for the following hour, you can actually sign up for the program.
Great, and that's this Friday.
This Friday at the library. Contact the library for more details.
Good, thank you. I'll entertain a motion to
so
adjourn.
moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.